The Tao which can be spoken of is not the true Tao. That is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about it in this episode of Chi Life. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been going through a process of doing review sessions with some of the course participants who've just finished the Small Universe Qigong 200-hour Qigong Instructor Certification program. And it's been really great talking to them about their experience with the program and about some of the main things they've learnt from the program, and lots of things like that, to get some of that feedback. And also part of it is helping to fine-tune their knowledge and clarify any issues that may still need clarifying and that sort of thing. So in one of the recent sessions, I was asking one of the course participants about what some of her main learnings were, and it was interesting. I thought it was because each person often has different things that they've taken from the program and that they feel they've benefited from. And her answer was an interesting one, which I thought was really good, which she said she came to really appreciate the value of the deep and consistent practice, because that really is so valuable. And in fact, that is one of the big parts of how I structure the programs, is that a lot of it is actually around doing your practice regularly in a supported way, so that you can experience things for yourself. Now, back to the title of this video. The Tao which can be spoken of is not the true Tao. You might think, sometimes a surface analysis of that statement, it comes from the Tao Te Ching, a book of Chinese philosophy. Sometimes a surface analysis, you can think, well, how can you talk about something if you can talk about it's not the real thing? Like, what does that even mean? What it's pointing to, it's not as confusing as it might seem. What it's pointing to is the fact that for us to express something, we naturally abstract it. And so to turn something into language and to speak of it, it becomes an abstraction of that thing rather than the thing itself. And this refers not just to speaking, but to any way we try to represent or construct things to understand the truth of the universe, of the world around us. And with regard, and this applies again, it applies to every area of life, but with regard to Qigong, there's all these different concepts within Qigong and Chinese medicine. These are related, of course. Things like Dantian, centers of energy, things like the meridians, the organ meridians, things like the extraordinary meridians, which function quite differently from the organ meridians, things like our energy fields, things like the 5 elements, which used in Chinese philosophy. All of these different concepts, but when we talk about them, they're actually an abstraction of the reality. No representation of them, whether it be a description, whether it be a drawing or a map or a chart, is the reality itself. In order for you to truly come to understand those things and understand the reality of them, you have to experience them. And that is where that practice becomes so important, because the practice is your opportunity to really experience them for yourself. In my experience, it's quite common sometimes for people to get really interested in theory, and there's nothing wrong with theory. I'm going to talk about how useful theory is soon, but get really interested in theory of Qigong or Chinese medicine, and so they learn some theory. And then from that piece of knowledge they've learned about some theory, they then sort of extrapolate outwards and they come to some more theory, and maybe this is over here. And then from there they go to some more theory, and so they develop all this theoretical knowledge. but all they have a true experience of is the theory, and they can make some kind of logical sense of it, but it's theoretical knowledge. If we're not careful, these pieces of theory, if we don't have actual experience of them, they quickly drift far away from reality, and they stop being useful to us. Much more useful, I think, is to draw on theory, because theory actually helps to guide our experience. So when we say we can't talk of the true Tao, it doesn't mean that we can't talk, and that in doing so we can't use that talking and discussion to point towards the true Tao, and help to guide us in that path of then experiencing for ourselves. And so then we have some theory, and this helps to guide us to start to experience some things. When we connect that to reality, it gives us the ability to, like, oh, the theory, it's okay, but the reality is actually over here. When we then move into further theory, again, the theory might come over here, it's more easy to now connect back to what's that really referring to. And so the theory actually becomes more effective for us in guiding us, helping us to learn and experience more quickly when we are regularly drawing this back, connecting it to our own experience. So yeah, if you want to experience the true Tao, so what is the Tao? I neglected to talk about that right at the beginning of this video. So the Tao essentially is referring to the path of nature, or the way of the universe. Essentially, it's about experiencing reality and truly understanding it, and then as part of that there can be implications from that. The Tao in a way is just reality itself. But then, implied from that is learning to be in harmony with nature, with the universe around you, and so on. So in order to experience the true Tao, you need to try things and experience them for yourself. Not just learn about them in theory, but really try them and do them. The Small Universe program, I think, does a pretty good job of that. Well, certainly that's the feedback I'm getting from the different participants who've been on it. As I mentioned before, a lot of it really is focused on doing your own practice, but in a supported way. So we do have enough theory to help guide us, and then we also talk about our experiences. So we have regular Q&A discussion meetings where we talk about what people have experienced while they've been practicing to help them to understand it and to then guide them further. So if you would like to really deepen your experience of Qigong and your own Qigong practice, I think the Small Universe Qigong program does a pretty good job of that. Now, of course, it is an Instructor Certification program, and that is because we do go into enough detail, enough of the principles, not just the practices themselves, but the principles that they're based on, so that people can have enough knowledge and information to teach if they wish to teach. But quite a few people also do the program simply for their own benefit, to learn for themselves, for their own experience, their own guidance as well. So you don't have to feel like, oh, it's an instructor program, that's not for me. It can be a way just to develop in your own practice as well. I will put a link to the information about that in the description below, in case that's something you want to check out. But if not, I hope you've enjoyed the vlog anyway. Maybe it's given you some things to think about in terms of, what that quote from the Tao Te Ching means. The Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. It doesn't mean we can't talk about the Tao. It doesn't mean it's not useful to talk about the Tao. But it means that we've got to actually experience stuff for ourselves. We've got to do things, we've got to practice and gain our own experience to truly understand. The discussion, all that sort of thing, are supplements to that actual direct understanding for ourselves. So if you've liked the vlog, please like, comment, subscribe, share, things like that. You might share it with someone else who might be interested. And I look forward to seeing you on some more vlogs on other topics in the near future.